Welcome to the Focused Fundraiser today, where we discuss how to focus on the right fundraising practices, because something that we believe in is that we don't need to do more in fundraising. We need to focus on what's working and what matters most in that. So today, I'm excited to welcome Ashley Hamm, who is the co-founder and executive director of Dear NICU Mama. Ashley brings years of experience building a nonprofit and fundraising for it. So Ashley, welcome. Can't wait to get into it with you.
Thank you. Also, I felt like that intro was just like the little affirmation I needed. We don't need to do more. We just need to be more focused. I'm like, that's so good. I need to write that down.
Well, we're going to get into that now. So I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you how you're doing that. So there'll be
Gosh.
accountability live here.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, start us off. Share a little bit about how you got into the nonprofit world, what led you to start a nonprofit. Tell me your story.
Yeah. So being in the nonprofit world was not my background. My background is more corporate America / entrepreneurship. So stepping into the nonprofit world was very unexpected, but it's been a joy and a big learning curve all at once to be a part of it. But Dear NICU Mama was founded after my son Silas was in the NICU for 3 months. So my son was born at 28 weeks unexpectedly due to severe preeclampsia. And so pretty quickly on, I felt the isolation that a lot of NICU families feel. I didn't have close friends in my circle that had walked through the NICU. And so not only are you pretty isolated in your by children's bedside, but then I just also didn't have people to really rely on. And it wasn't until a fellow NICU mom reached out to me on Instagram and asked if I wanted to get coffee that I really understood the transformative power of peer support and how that could transform my own NICU stay. And so at the time, we were both here in Fargo-Moorhead, and we both felt the lack of support. And so one day, coming home from the NICU, I looked over to my husband and I was like, what if I started a nonprofit? Blah, 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 blah. And I kind of like laid out this whole business plan. And he was like, can we just wait to get home first? And I was like, sure. So then a week after my son came home from the NICU, I reached out to that new friend of mine and just said, do you want to start something for NICU moms here? And she miraculously said yes. So in 2019, around Mother's Day, we were founded. And now we're 6 years old as an organization. So my business baby and my real baby are about the same age. And it's just been a wild ride. We kind of say it as a joke, but Dear NICU Mama has kind of told us where it wants to go a little bit. And so we've had some really exciting growing pains, some tension growing pains, but ultimately it's just been a huge honor of my life to lead this organization. And I just feel so grateful to know these moms and do this work. So that's where we are today.
That's so powerful to have such an intimate reason for running your mission. I'm curious to know, is there anything that has surprised you about fundraising for a cause with such a personal mission statement and that personal piece?
Yeah. I think it's how do I explain this? Like I think um honestly, one of my hurdles has maybe been the deep personal connection. I think it's really funny. I've done, in my 6 years now, I've done a lot of like trainings and I've taken courses and I've attended webinars and seminars and I've tried to really educate myself on fundraising. And sometimes I joke about the fact that I would be a really great fundraiser if it wasn't for my own personal organization. There's something about like having to ask, even though I believe in our mission so much, I believe in what we're doing so much, for some reason, I have this little hiccup in my brain of like, I don't want people to feel obligated to donate to something that is so connected to my story. And so I've had to do a lot of inner work to really, not get over that, but embrace that, like, this is a deeply personal part of my story, and in fact, that's what makes it really special to do the work that I'm doing, but sometimes that's created a little unintentional hurdle when it comes to fundraising and asking, for donations and asking for money, but honestly, at the same time, it's what continues to fuel me to do this work. Like, the reason I started this was from such a deep personal place, and so that's what continues to sustain the work that I'm doing and, the NICU is not going away. I feel like it's only increasing as we look at earlier and earlier admissions for NICU babies now. And so whenever I have the chance to connect with new NICU moms, it's just like this fire is reignited in me of how important this peer support is. So it's kind of a double-edged sword sometimes.
Hmm. Yeah, I can imagine it's dredging up some of the past emotions that you've had to go through yourself, and you're doing that
hmm
over and over again. That's a lot of takes a lot of strength.
Yeah, for sure. I think definitely in the beginning it was like you're continually kind of reliving things. And I think the thing that though has been so cool is like we say it often in the NICU community, but like you kind of skip the small talk when you connect like NICU mom to NICU mom, or when I have the chance to connect with a donor who maybe has a NICU story, either in their own parenthood journey or related to someone in their life who's had that. You just skip the small talk and you go right to the heart. So I've really seen how sharing your story can also be really powerful. So it's helped me continue to do it, throughout the 6 years.
Hmm. I'm curious to know, and maybe I'm making an assumption here, but Dear
Mhm.
NICU Mama, you guys provide what I would assume is hard to quantify things like emotional support and
Mhm.
mentorship. How do you
Mhm.
guys, as a nonprofit, measure impact so that you can communicate that with your supporters?
Man, I mean, that is something that we're continually evaluating. And I think going into 2026 as a board, we're really gonna evaluate that very thing because I think like, and this was probably what makes me not the best fundraiser is I want everybody to just have this and I'll do it for free. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is so important. So sometimes like, I'm like, I don't care about the data because I just want these moms to be helped and served. But at the same time, that data is really, really important. And so it's kind of it's a moving target, if you will. Like sometimes we can pull really concrete data from like podcast listens or engagement on like our virtual support groups or, our social media and things like that. But when it comes to like how we measure the impact from mom to mom, I think it's something that we're always growing and learning. I think kind of our most like what we find to be most helpful and what we can offer is just the testimonials from moms themselves. We can really share powerful impact stories of the work that we're doing. And I feel like that for me has always been so much more effective and meaningful than like providing like statistics. However, there are some really great studies shown of just the impacts of peer support and things like that too. So we can sometimes rely on those. But yeah, it's hard to think about like, hey, we hosted a support group. Will you fill out the survey and let us know how this helped you? That kind of thing. So, we're always kind of evaluating, how we measure those things. But yeah, it's a constant moving target, I feel like.
Yeah, and it's something that a lot of nonprofits, you aren't alone. A lot of nonprofits face that, where it's
Yeah. Mhm.
unquantifiable.
Yeah.
It's hard to pinpoint, and I
Mhm.
think what you're doing exactly right. Everything comes back to relational, and story is
Yes.
what matters most. And so if you can
Yes.
really tell those stories, even
Mhm.
if you can't pinpoint 500 NICU moms helped or whatever that looks like,
Mhm.
if you can tell a few of their stories, that's what's
Yeah.
connecting people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and like I think the one thing that's again, the double-edged sword, if you will, is that, I think sometimes as founders or co-founders, you start a nonprofit because you also needed it. So, like in my case, Dear NICU Mama was founded because I desperately needed support and I wanted to be a part of that. And so, my story is a big piece of, I needed support. Dear NICU Mama provided that for me, and now I am forever changed, and it has greatly impacted my life. And so, when I talk with donors and individuals, I'm also sharing my personal experience of how this community has shaped my life and my mental health and my motherhood journey, and how I can show up for my son today. So, yeah, the story is always the most powerful connector for sure.
All right, so let's talk about focus.
Oh,
You wear you wear you wear a lot of hats, right? Most
yes,
executive
all of
directors
them.
do, most fundraisers do. Yeah, you wear all of them,
hmm
fundraiser, mentor, all of those things. On a daily or a weekly basis, have you put in practices or ways of focusing on what you should be doing? Because there's always fires to be put out in a nonprofit. How do you focus in on a week?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have one of those creative brains that sometimes works best, like spur of the moment or like at 8 p.m. until midnight. I don't think I'll ever be a classic 9 to 5 individual, which is probably good that I'm in this field because it's never confined to 9 to 5. But I think I'm always, trying to find that balance of focus and, that kind of thing. I think one thing that's been really helpful being that we are a really small team. So I'm, currently the only full-time employee. I think when we revitalized our board of directors in 2024, that was essential because I finally had another form of sounding board to really like steward where we were going. I think being that I am such a creative brain, I have a lot of ideas, I have a lot of vision, I have a lot of like, what if we did this and maybe this would change this or maybe this would help this. And I think having the board be so involved and really just help guide and direct of like, yep, that feels aligned or nope, that feels ambitious or let's put that on pause. I think like having that sounding board has been really, really helpful. And they've done a great job of, someone told me recently the power of the phrase not yet. It's not saying no, it's saying not yet. Like, great idea. Right now is not the time. It's not yet, but maybe in the future. And I think that for my creative brain has given me like sometimes the no just seems like it squashes everything. And then you're like, well, now I don't feel like I can, move forward at all. Whereas like that not yet is like that gentle permission of like, what is my focus right now? What might be on the horizon? Then I don't need to devote extra hours of my time to do that. But something that I've had to really flex, because when we first started the organization, it was me and a co-founder. And we just like, we were so like, it was one of those like divine coworkers where like you just happen to have the exact opposite skill sets. And you also really liked each other. So you got along really well and you wanted to work together, but like you knew you had completely opposite skills and we just worked so well together. So she was a lot more of the admin. She loves spreadsheets. She loves data. She loves systems and like creating codes for things. She's in like she works for Salesforce, so she's just brilliant. And I am more of creative vision, people, programming, that kind of stuff. So when she ultimately had to step down just due to capacity in life, I had to also then flex that part of my brain and find a way to fit those into my workday, and also be really honest about like what I am capable of and what I don't have time for so I don't burn out. So like we hire out our bookkeeping, we hire out some of those things because I just don't it doesn't come naturally to me. I don't want to spend hours and hours and hours of time doing that. And I don't want to do it wrong and then have to redo it again anyways. So it's just been kind of like what can I focus on and what is practical to outsource so that I can focus on A, what I'm good at, B, what I like doing, but what's actually going to help move the mission forward.
You might have just answered this, but
Okay.
I'm curious to know what is a process or something that you wish you would have invested in sooner as a nonprofit? You've got it now. You're like, man, we should have done this 5 years ago when we.
Honestly, I think the board. Like we had a board, but it was a little bit more like casual because like at the time we also were figuring out what Dear NICU Mama was, what our niche was, what our mission was. It was during COVID, so like things were changing all the time. So like our board was involved, but it was like a little bit more relaxed. And when we revitalized it in 2024, I just noticed like a significant shift in just like not only how Dear NICU Mama could be pushed forward, but also how I felt supported along the way. And I just can I'm like I honestly had told people pretty quickly like why did I wait so long to really like dig into this? And I remember there was I did a consult or I did kind of like a mentorship meeting with someone and I was like, do I fundraise or do I get or do I really focus on the board? I don't feel like I have capacity to do both. So like, what's my focus? And she really encouraged me. She's like, it seems like your fundraising's okay right now, but I think the board will be really helpful. And I wish I would have like just really ran with that because it took me a little bit to be like, to really grasp it. And now that I have, it's just been a game changer for me. And for our organization and just to feel like we're a team and we really like care about this mission and this work and these families. And so honestly, having just a strong board has been so instrumental for me.
It's very hopeful to hear because a lot of nonprofits struggle with boards. They
Hmm.
oftentimes view the boards as a hurdle rather than a
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know how did you build a board that you're excited to like get their input? They are a support rather than a separation for you.
Yeah. Well, I was very intentional. Like my skill set in life, I guess, if you will, is I'm a people person. I'm a connector of people. That's like my jam. So like when I thought about a board, I really tried to do that first of just like, what are some individuals that are really smart, really intentional, but really like care about our community, care about these families, and I maybe have some sort of connection to. And then from that, we've been able to connect with other individuals. But just like my network, I feel so grateful for because the people that were interested in being a part and the people that had the skills just happened to be like really incredible people. But one thing that we did early on is we actually did a board training through Dakota Medical Foundation, and they really hammered in how your job as a board is to support your CFO. And I had never heard that in any other trainings. A lot of it was like how to strategize, how to get through meetings quickly, how to be intentional with your time, which is all really important things. But I didn't hear a lot about supporting your CFO or supporting your
Yeah.
executive director. And honestly, like every other minute, I felt like they were kind of, and I felt like a little bit uncomfortable because I was like, you guys don't have to, like the Midwest nice in me was like, you can support me, but like only if you want to, like, and so I feel like though that was such a challenge for our board. And I feel like I have just felt that like every board meeting, I feel so loved. Like they are so like, hey, can we just say, Ash, great work on this? Like, we really like believe in you. We believe in these moms. Like, I just feel so fortunate. So I feel like we've had great people, but then too, doing that training and because then I feel it's like it builds this layer of trust. It's like if you guys believe in me, then I believe in you and we can really get things done. And that's not to say that every board meeting was just flawless and we just sat holding hands and like was like, oh, but it was like when you have that framework of like, hey, we're in it for the mission, we're here to support our CFO, like it really changes the dynamic of the meeting. And so I think that training was really essential for that.
I love that. I haven't heard of that training before. I think that's a fantastic
Mhm.
recommendation for those that are struggling with their boards is to get some outside expertise to tell them how
Mhm.
to support the nonprofit better. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. We're coming up on 20 minutes. So I want to ask, I always ask a final question that's very tactical for fundraisers out there.
Okay.
So, from your perspective, Ashley, what is one thing that every fundraiser should do today that you believe would help them move the needle and what matters most to them?
Well, it's actually a quote. Can I share a quote? It's not
Yeah.
really like so it's actually from Patrick Kirby, who also does kind of some fundraising consults. But if you haven't subscribed to his emails, they are really great. They're just kind
Mm,
of a boost of like, I can do
agreed.
this. But he had this quote, and I actually wrote it on my whiteboard, but it's, how dare you assume they don't want to give? And I think, I don't know if it's the Midwest in me, but I'm always really like, well, they probably don't want to. I don't want to bug them. I don't want to. But then when you reframe it to like, how dare you assume they don't want to give? It just
So
kind
good.
of like gives you a little boost of like, A, belief in your mission, like, hey, what I'm doing is really cool and good work. And B, like, it just gives you a boost of confidence to be like, you know what? I'm going to approach this donor with the thought that why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they want to give to the work that we're doing? And if they say no, I still had the courage to at least like put myself out there and approach this individual. So I think that has been a huge game changer for me. And I look at it on my whiteboard every day. So
It's so good. It gave me goosebumps when you said
yeah.
it because it's so powerful. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Very good
Yeah.
advice. Ashley, thank you so much for giving your
Thank
advice and just
you.
sharing freely how you're running your nonprofit. I hope this helps other nonprofits and fundraisers.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I hope it's encouraging for other nonprofit leaders or fundraisers who wear all the hats and who don't have this as their background. It is not my background, so I empathize. I get it. It is a grind. It is not easy, but just know you're not alone. You're doing great. And thanks, Rob, for letting me be a part of this. This was really fun.
And for those listening, if you are curious about how DonorDock can help you find that clarity and build a strong donor base through smart stewardship, you can visit us at DonorDock.com. And we will see you next week.